I'm Laverne Jortson, the UW Extension Agriculture Agent for Jefferson County. It's my pleasure to introduce John Freitag to you for the next segment. John is a beef producer from New Glarus, and he's worked in farm management, farm sales, ag finance, organization development, and has a broad spectrum of experience that he's able to contribute to Wisconsin agriculture. He is currently working with the Wisconsin Beef Council and promoting beef for Wisconsin producers. And the Beef Council helps to bridge the gap between the consumer and producer by helping promote the producer's product while they're busy producing it and raising the beef. In addition to his job with the Beef Council, John works and serves with the Wisconsin Beef Improvement Association as their executive director and helps manage the bull sale, which is being organized at UW-Platteville Pioneer Farm as we speak. So with that, John Freitag.
Thank you, Laverne. Well, I'm happy to be here today as well. I enjoyed Wanda's comments very much so. And I'm probably going to reiterate some of the things that she said, but it is really important that we talk to the consumer and they understand what we're doing. First, before I really get started, I know that some of you are BQA certified. Some of you may be BQA certified in the future. And I'm just wanted to bring you a little bit of an update of what happened at the BQA training session that we had in back in early February. But just a couple of comments about those. Our main goal for the next session is we need to increase ways to certify and verify BQA. You know, we spent a lot of time going to meetings and just having a booth and talking about beef quality assurance, but now things are changing, and what we want and need is documentation for the consumer so that they know that we are trying to improve our product and that we are doing things right. Our customers, Walmart, Costco, McDonald's, and many others, those are just three that come to mind. They're pressing the packers really hard to try and get us to verify that we are producing our products in different ways. The consumer is asking them, how is this product being produced? Can you prove it to me? And so we'll see an assessment process taking place first in the feeder end of it. We know that 95% of all of the large feedlots across the country are already BQA certified. Our job is to try and get the beef producers, the cow-calf guy, the feeder, the backgrounders, those people involved in beef quality assurance. And so, but they'll start with the assessment, feedlot assessments, and trying to verify what the actual feed yards are doing. I'm sure some of you heard about the farm program, and they're changing their format. They update it every 3 years or so, and they are going to incorporate beef quality assurance training into the farm program. This is a big plus for us. Version 3, as it is used, will be much more educational for the producer about beef quality assurance and dairy beef quality assurance. And for those of us that have worked on it for 5-6 years trying to get it incorporated, this is a big positive for us. The next issue, one of the next issues that they're going to be keying on is transportation issue. They're going to be looking at both semi-trailers and stock trailers. Tail docking is going to be a thing of the past. Some form of animal ID is going to be in your future. We don't know what type of animal ID and what kind of identification, but everybody that is involved in the beef quality assurance planning session feels that it needs to be something that happens, because It helps us document to the consumer that we are doing the right thing. And last, tell me your story. Just like Wanda was saying, we need to emphasize to the consumer that we are committed to producing a safe and wholesome product. So I'm going to just talk about beef quality assurance a little bit. And when I say beef quality assurance, I'm talking about all types of animals, dairy and beef, and even to a certain extent veal. So if I reference BQA, I'm talking about everybody. I'm not just talking about the beef industry. BQA is an evolving program. Nowadays, we were talking about antibiotic resistance, and we're talking about injection site lesions. Nowadays, we're talking about animal welfare. We're talking about antimicrobial usage and best management practices. These are not new things. We've been doing them every day of our operating our farms. It's just that now we're going to start writing them down and recording them so that we can document to the consumer exactly what we are doing on our farms, and then it gives them a better feeling of confidence that what we're doing and the food that we're producing is safe. In 1980, 25% of the Americans lived alone. In 2010, 50% of the Americans lived alone. So what happened to the significant other? Who replaced the significant other? It was fluffy. So now we've got, as Wanda said, less than 2% of our population in producing food in agriculture. We've got 60% of our population that has animals or pets in their household. So when you or I, or we start talking about turning the bull out in the pasture, they can't quite comprehend that what we're thinking about is we're going to be producing food in 15 months. Maybe it's going to be longer than that, depending upon the type of production that we have. But we're not producing a 1,500-pound lapdog. They don't understand that. So that's our challenge. We believe that when we were asked about production practices, we as cattlemen can point to an established program like BQA to help document these practices so that we get them done correctly, and it's very important to the consumer that documenting that we do things correctly. If we are going to fight for market share, and yes, we have to fight for market share. I don't know if you've heard about chicken creep, but that's been something that we've been watching all along, and chickens have jumped ahead of the beef supply in per capita consumption. But we better do everything right so that we can show the positive attributes of our product with programs like BQA. Why? Because they're going to be asked questions, core questions like how do you care for your cattle? How do you document it? It is about asking what kind of operation do we want to run? We as beef producers need to create a culture of standing up and doing what's right. Then we can and need to talk about it. In my mind, that starts with beef quality certification. So, to build demand that is sustainable for future generations, that's the mission statement for the Wisconsin Beef Council. But I think it should be the mission statement of all beef producers or anybody that's in agriculture. If we don't produce what the consumer wants, we're not going to have a market for very long. So in order to be sustainable, we have to assure that every customer who purchases cattle or beef or byproducts, beef products, as well as every consumer who eats beef or beef products will be satisfied with their purchase. Ask the right question. Each and every participant in the beef supply chain needs to answer this question. How do I, or we, deliver the best in the world's products and services? The consumer rules. Our food business climate is one of impatient customers and aggressive marketers. We must become more customer-oriented. So in order for you to better understand our consumer and our customer, I'm going to take some of the things that your beef checkoff pays for and talk about the Consumer Beef Index. I'll show you a few slides of what the consumer tells us they want from our beef products. This Consumer Beef Index has been done for 15 years now. We do it twice a year. We interview 1,000 consumers, and we ask them some very pointed questions, and we listen to what they say, and then we try and build our programs around what they're telling us. So this is the importance and the performance of some of these questions. They were asked, is it extremely important, very important? Do you agree completely, somewhat? The first bar is the importance to the consumer. Second bar is what do they think, does beef measure up to, or how does it compare to what the consumer wants? And the third bar is chicken performance. Great. We're great tasting. Our product is great tasting. That's probably the biggest demand driver that the beef industry has, and we don't want to screw it up. But 91% of the consumers are telling us that they like our product. It tastes great. But poultry's right there beside us. You can go down the line. I'm not going to talk about all of these, but I'm going to also, I'm circling the ones that, in my mind, the Beef Quality Assurance Program can affect. So it's great tasting. It's extremely safe to eat. There are good results consistently. And it's always tender. Well, we started at 91%, and always tender, we're already down to 68%, is what the consumer thinks they want to have. Our beef product is only 58% always tender in their minds. Whereas poultry, 72%. If you look at that, chicken and poultry is ahead of us in just about every area of performance. Here's some more. There's actually 30 of these, and I've highlighted about 8 of them. But our beef is from humanely raised animals. Antibiotics are used responsibly, and animals are raised without hormones. It's a lot lower in their area of recognition, but is still something that they have highlighted and said is important to them. And then in the last one, there's 2, and they're not necessarily BQA involved, but I think you can relate some of the BQA education and programming to those. Animals are sustainably raised, and they have a low impact on our environment. So this is the top 5 most important factors to consumers. Like I said, great tasting is the first thing, 91%. Is it good value for our money? 86% of them, our consumers, are looking for value, and 65% of them say that yes, it is good value for the money. Extremely safe to eat. 81% of our consumers want some type of guarantee, or I shouldn't say guarantee, but recognition that we are concerned about producing a safe product, because they want the most safe product for their family. Does it have good results consistently? Consistent in what? Tenderness? Size? There's lots of different things that fall into whether our product is consistent. We'll talk about maybe how do we get rid of some of or increase the consistency of our product and get rid of some of our things that are making us inconsistent. And the fifth one is it fits a moderate budget, food budget. And the last five, know how to prepare well. Do you feel confident preparing it? 74% of our consumers think that they want to have confidence in it. But what we're finding is the millennial generation, they don't know how to prepare our product. So we have to do things to help them better understand that. And there are things, but that isn't what this talk is about today. Provides fuel or energy and fuel, balance of taste and nutrition. Zinc, iron, and protein, ZIP. We've got a great story, nutritional story to tell. So then we also have some other research, the Consumer Image Index. This is a second consumer research project that we've been doing, and it is only done once a year instead of twice a year, but it still is done with 1,000 consumers. So what's important for the meat industry? Continually improving food safety. Safety, whether it's for the consumers look at it, or the consumer looking at the actual product, or looking at our industry, is the second main food driver that we've got. Animals have to have room to roam and exercise. Lots of times they'll see pictures of the herd bunched up, and what do they think? Boy, those guys don't have any place to roam and exercise or move around. Well, they don't realize that they're herding animals, and their herding instinct takes over. So are we continually improving animal care? Wanda talked about how her hog industry, what they were doing when they first started farming, and now the way it is now, and all of the changes that have been made. We can document that if we can show the consumer that we are improving our handling and our operations through education and other things like that, that they're all right with it. We don't have to just be number one. We can show them that we are improving in our product, and the way we're handling our product, they're good with that. Are we producing products that are free of antibiotics? Do we use antibiotics responsibly? Feed animal diets with no GMOs. So how many of these actually can be affected by the BQA program? Quite a few of them. So what's important in the eyes of the consumer? It's safe for my family. The animal is cared for. There's continuous improvement, food safety and handling practices. Is our industry transparent? And specific practices that we all do, and generally on an everyday basis, that they don't understand or know about. So why do we conduct national beef quality audits? There's lots of reasons, numerous reasons, but the main reason is we have to find and build benchmarks so that we can show that we are making progress, or we're going back, or the areas that we're working in were successful, so that we can also document to the consumer that we are doing things right. The industry must identify its quality shortfalls, because one of those could result in its downfall unless the root causes can be ferreted out so that the problems can be corrected. Most of you probably don't remember back into the late 50s and early 60s, but the auto industry was king at the time. They did what they thought the consumer wanted. They had these big tank cars, they had fuel guzzlers, they're just big old tanks is what I called them, and they thought they were producing the best You know, the bigger the better. What happened? Consumer says, I don't want something this big. I want something that's more energy efficient. Detroit didn't listen. So what happened? Here comes Volkswagen and then Toyota and Honda. Smaller cars, more energy efficient. The auto industry did not listen to their consumers, and we know what happened to them. Somebody came in and took their business. We don't want that in our industry. So why have we conducted a national beef quality audit every 5 years since 1991? Some of the reasons I just alluded to, but we need to provide a meaningful set of guideposts and measurements relative to the quality conformance of the U.S. beef supply. So our audit was broken into 4 different segments. One, we interviewed all of the different segments. We started with the cow-calf and the seed stock producer. We went to the backgrounder. We went to the feeder. We went to the packer. And then we went to the retailer and the food service people to find out just exactly what they thought of our product. We did cooler audits so that we could look at the carcasses and see what some of the blemishes were and see some of the problems. We found bruising and how much actually trim was trimmed off the product so that we could just document some of these things. And we surveyed producers. And lastly, we had a strategy workshop where we took all the recommendations and we tried to figure out what do we as an industry need to do to continue to improve our product. So these are some of the rank quality challenges and changes from 1991 to 2011. If you look, external fat, seam fat, palatability, tenderness, cutability, and marbling. Those were the first issues that our industry really faced up front. But some of those issues are still back in 95 and then even in 2000. It took us a while to start to get momentum and start to move forward on these issues. But once we did, you'll see that we don't have some of the same issues coming back in the next audit and the next audit. We did a great job in trying to correct the things that we were finding that we were deficient in or that we needed to improve in. And so, to me, that documents that the BQA program is doing its job. Common quality concerns across the sectors, food safety, and eating satisfaction, whether it's tenderness, flavor, taste. Some of these were more important to packers and retailers and food service, and then maybe less important to the feeders. But we know that each segment is dependent upon the other, and if one segment doesn't do their job, it's going to affect what happens in the next segment or the next part of the chain in our beef production practices. Other concerns expressed: cattle welfare, how and what cattle are fed, the origin of the product, and hormone and antibiotic use. What was not said or included in the audit. These were some of the things that we actually corrected in 1991. Injection site lesions, hide damage due to manure and mud. Now, that's not always true because the last audit that was done, it was a really wet time and mud on the carcasses came back and were pretty prominent in one of the things that we found. Hot iron brands. Foreign market doesn't like brands on their not the carcasses, but the hides that they buy, because they're putting them in the cars and they don't necessarily want a brand in their car seat. Liver condemnations. These are all things that were an issue early and they're almost non-existent nowadays. Major weakness, we do a poor job telling our story. I wish we had more Wandas in Wisconsin. We've got lots of, in my mind, great people telling our story in the dairy industry, We've got some really good ones telling the beef story too, but we don't have enough of you. We need more. Consumer has little understanding of the actual practices used in cattle and meat production. And much of their information comes from uninformed sources. Facebook, Twitter, all of these. It's like Wanda said, they would much sooner believe and listen to what their neighbor is saying or someone down the road than get the real story about the research and the science behind what we're doing. These are conclusions from phase 1. Terminology needs to be standardized so we can better communicate with consumers. They want to know more about the beef they consume and where it comes from. Retailers and food service and packers are under pressure to ensure that the animals have been raised humanely. I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but if we start to do some of this documentation in our BQA program, we can use that to prove to the consumer that we are doing things the right way. And continuous improvement in food safety and eating satisfaction must be an industry-wide focus for enhancing the quality of beef. Here are a few things that we found out when we talked to producers that were maybe a little bit disconcerting. More than 25 said that they would use medications other than directed on a drug label without being directed by a veterinarian. 4.2%. That's not a lot of our producers, but that's enough to give us a black eye, or our industry a black eye. We need to be more down on that never part than we do on a always frequency. Withdrawal times, the use of written records to track withdrawal times. Only 46.7% of us write down when what the withdrawal time should be and is. Usually 26%, never 11, almost 12%. We need to change those things. Product integrity, how do we maintain or keep the integrity in our product? We need to assure clear communication that enhances the trust and increases the value through our chain. How do we do that? We have to talk all the way up the line through all the different segments. We can't just be focused and concerned about our specific segment, whether it's cow-calf or maybe it's the feeder. We have to be talking and seeing what's going on all across the country, and this will improve our supply chain and strengthen and give us increased trust and value in our product. So how do we influence consumer confidence? Food safety, how and where the cattle were raised. Are they on a factory farm, a family farm? You ask, when we go out and we're doing demos in the stores, people say, well, I don't want that, that's from a factory farm. And you ask them what a factory farm is, and I'll bet I could probably ask this whole audience what a factory farm is, and we get lots and lots of different answers. They don't really know what a factory farm is. They think they know because somebody said something about it. But we need to tell them where and how our cattle were raised. It might be organic, maybe it is grass-fed, maybe it's grain-fed. They need to know that. Once they know that, they're pretty happy with it. Why do we see more producers doing private treaty sales of their beef? The consumer has a chance to interact with that producer and say, oh, I trust you now. I know where it's coming from. I've seen the farm, or at least I've met the individual that's producing the product. Animal health care, handling and well-being. BQA is important in protecting our product integrity. Eating satisfaction. These are factors that influence our eating satisfaction. The flavor profile, tenderness and juiciness. I would actually put tenderness at the top, and then I'd have juiciness, and then I'd talk about the flavor profile. But our consumers are changing dramatically. How many Hispanics do we have now in our consumer public? That number is increasing very, very rapidly. But we also have Asians, and we have other people coming in and immigrating into our country, and they want a flavor profile that they're used to, but they still want to eat beef. So we have to be cognizant of that, and we have to provide those different products, and we have to think about it. Factors that affect palatability: youth of growth promoting technologies. We know that some of our growth promotants are more harsh to the animal than others. So how do we change that and adapt that so that we have a more tender carcass when it comes time to send it to the processing plant? Genetics. Some people have said, you know, if we would close down our genetic input, we could really, really lock in on producing a quality product. We have to get rid of the outliers, obviously, but I don't think that we want to close our genetic base so much that we don't have some variability. We need to have variability. Handling. How do you handle your animals? Are they quiet when you load them and then they go to the packing plant? Have they had a good ride to the packing plant? Oftentimes, those of us in the dairy industry, we kind of forget that, you know, that packing plant isn't right where the auction market is. It might be 3-4 hours down the road, and we need to think about that so that that animal can make it to the packing plant and give us a payday when it comes time to getting paid for it. And health practices. What kind of health practices do we do, and do we document them? Consumer, if we can document what we're doing, the consumer has much more confidence in our product than not. So, top priorities for food safety and animal health. We want to implement an effective animal information sharing system. Are we going to get to an animal ID program? I think the way it sounds, we're getting a lot closer than what we thought we were a couple of years ago. I'm not saying that it's going to be specific animal ID, but there's got to be some ways that we can tell the consumer where this product is coming from and gives them more confidence in our product. We need to develop an effective full supply chain safety interventions. Increase our focus on E. coli and Salmonella. Some of the research that's being done with checkoff dollars now, E. coli, yes, not as much, but Salmonella has just jumped right to the forefront. Need to implement BQA and demonstrate conformance through written records. Talked about that earlier. Continuous improved health of calves. Yes, I'm connected with the bull test station, and we know that if that animal gets sick at the bull test station, a couple reasons: it probably isn't going to make the sale, or it isn't going to index very high in that area because it loses weight, or when it's not feeling well, and until it gets back on its feet, it's not gaining as well as the animals that weren't healthy. But we also know that if an animal gets sick in your feedlot, you very probably lose one quality grade when it comes time to market that animal. We really need to keep them as healthy as we can, whether it's a baby calf that we're buying to feed out. Take it all the way from the very beginning. The person that has the calf or the farm that has that calf needs to get it started properly, and then we need to just continue that health practices all the way through. And we need to encourage dairy and veterinarian BQA engagement. Now, this is a national outlook. In Wisconsin, I think I could say very positively that the Wisconsin Veterinary Medical Association has really brought this to the forefront with their Food Armor program. They are doing a really great job, in my estimation, of trying to connect the veterinarian to the farm and developing protocols so that if the owner isn't there or the manager isn't there and something happens, the people that are working on the farm have a set of guidelines that they need to follow for that particular instance to help make that animal healthy and get it back into production as fast as they possibly can. Telling our industry story, we talked about it. Beef quality assurance is an industry success story. We started out in the early 80s where we had lots of injection site issues, and we know that that makes our product less tender. We've changed that. The beef industry was kind of where the dairy industry is now, and we've improved that and made great strides, let's just put it that way. And the dairy industry is coming along, I think, really well in our state, but if you look on some of the other websites, there's other states that haven't quite got the word yet, as far as I'm concerned. Animal welfare has always been a top priority for our cattlemen. We have to reiterate that to our consumers. Once they know that we're concerned about it and we're doing everything that we can, they have much more confidence in us. There's a terrific story when it comes to food safety, flavor, and tenderness. Science is only part of our story. Most important thing is we need to be authentic, we need to be honest, and we need to be transparent. Here are some of the shortcomings that we have in our industry yet. We need to increase the use of written protocols. We need to balance the needs of all industry segments. I'll go back to it. Whatever you do in your segment of the production chain affects everybody above you. Maybe doesn't affect the one below you, but we're all interconnected. We have to improve our BQA practices with dairy beef. I think Wisconsin is on the right road. We need to reduce our carcass inconsistencies. So let's say that you're a chef in Milwaukee, might be at the Pfister Hotel or one of the, maybe it's Potawatomi, and you got 1,500 people for a special banquet that night. And they're going to have ribeye steaks as their main entree. You got some ribeyes that are 10 square inches, you got some that are 12, and you got some that are 14. The customer says, I want an 8-ounce cut of beef. How does that chef cook all of those steaks to satisfy the consumer when they're varying that much in size? Because if you got a 14-inch ribeye and you want 8 ounces, it's going to be a whole lot thinner than that 10-inch ribeye that's we don't think of those things, but to them it's really important. If we want to continue to have demand for a product, we have to cut down some of the inconsistencies of our product. It needs to be more tender. Some of the things that we're doing don't influence tenderness. We have to monitor emerging pathogen issues. Checkoff is doing that for you because we are doing a lot of research on salmonella now and poor storytelling. Here are some of the strengths of the U.S. beef industry, and look at what is the same for the different segments of our industry, whether it's retail, food service, packers, feeders, and yes, even the government is a partner, I guess. But food safety, taste, promoting our industry, product quality, food safety, These are all things that we can document to the consumer with our BQA program that we are doing. Weaknesses? Well, we're not telling our story. Food safety, some of the same things that are our strengths in some people's minds. It's changing depending upon what segment of our industry that you're part of. Food safety and eating satisfaction were important across the board. Clear sign that these beef attributes are fundamental demand drivers. Taste, safety, and consistency are our most important demand drivers. All things that the BQA training and education can affect. If consumers have a bad eating experience, we know their interest in future purchases of our product goes down. We need to get rid of the outliers that will help us improve the consistency of our product. By doing the best job that we can in raising our animals, we improve the taste and minimize the safety concerns of our consumers. What is important to the consumers in the areas of cattle production? Safety practices, animal care, responsible use of antibiotics, and transparency all can be addressed through the BQA program. By being able to verify to our retailers and food service partners that our industry is doing the right things, this helps to keep them from giving us directives on how to raise our product. It also gives us the documentation that consumers want so that they can feel good about the food that they are eating and they keep coming back for more. Each segment in the production chain is dependent upon the other doing their job. Are you doing your part? So, are there any questions?